for all the Mets fans who were nervous about, oh, Sevy shouldn't have said that. Oh, we're nervous about, we don't want to see the Yankees have a little bulletin board material. Doesn't matter. You know why? So we clean it right up. Sweep it right up. I mean, what more can you say? You got to tip your cap. I'm going to do it right now. To Jake Diekman, 1, 2, 3, top of the Yankee lineup. And he gets through it. We all know the huge strikeout against Aaron Judge. Getting Judge looking, a fastball in the inside corner. I mean, we know the math. The Mets can take over the first wild card spot with a good weekend against the Braves. Well. Welcome to the Apple. Jonathan Barron here, doing this by myself again. I'm pretty sure Vito is in transit back to the United States of America. Vito, if you're listening to this either at some point on Thursday or whatever it might be, wish we were doing this one together. You can follow me at JMB9191. You can follow Vito at Vito F. Khaleesi on Twitter. And this is a clean sweep episode of Meet at the Apple. For the first time since 2013, the New York Mets have completed a season series sweep of the New York Yankees, and they did it in dominating fashion. We are here to break it all down for you. Look, we always have fun when the Mets can beat the Yankees. We all know the history. We all have our scars from 2000 if you're old enough to remember it. So these moments are fun, right? Like, this is why we watch. I said that last episode that, you know, all these big games we're going to have in July and August, September. This is why we do this, right? And for the Mets to go into Yankee Stadium, win 2 games in totally different fashions, and we'll get into both of them. And to put the hurting on the Yankees aces. Remember, the Mets saw Garrett Cole and Luis Gil in games 1 and 2 back in June at Citi Field. And they saw Luis Gil and Garrett Cole in games 1 and 2 in the Bronx. And the Mets, no problems. They take all 4 games. So I want to kick things off here by putting some context to the sweep and talking about the last time that this happened. In 2013, if you remember, the Mets won all 4 games against the Yankees. Back in the day, it used to be 6 games. Next year, they will play 6 times again, which I like, by the way. Me personally, I was telling my good buddy Matt Breen, who I went to the game with on Tuesday night, I think, hot take here, both teams should be in the same division. When MLB decides to finally realign, add a couple teams, realign, get these 2 in the same division. It is good for the sport. It's good for the rivalry. It's good for baseball in New York. It's good for everybody. But we only play 4 games nowadays, right? And the last time the Mets swept the Yankees, I'm going to give you 2 points of context that are going to hopefully blow your mind. Maybe you say, I knew that. That's not that cool. The first one. The last time the Mets swept the Yankees, the Mets were still broadcasting their radio games on WFAN. And we had that great jingle, which they kind of brought back, but not fully back. The second one, and this one's the good one. One of those 4 wins back in 2013 was recorded by current Mets pitching coach, Jeremy Hefner. That's how long it's been since the Mets have swept the Yankees in a full season series like they just did here this week. 2 games this week, 2 games back in June, and really 3 of the 4 wins just an absolutely dominating fashion. The Mets putting up double-digit runs left and right on the Yankees. The Mets hit 7 total home runs against Garrett Cole, who has allowed just 12 home runs all season, and 7 of them have been allowed against this New York Mets lineup, which once again was thunderous on Wednesday night. So quite a performance by the Mets, who, look, on Tuesday night, they eked out a victory. And, let's get into that right now as we talk about the 2 games. That was a nail-biter in the truest of forms, right? They left a lot of runners on base. The Mets had a lot of opportunities to break Tuesday's game open. They failed to do so, but the Mets took the lead, and they did not relinquish it. Jose Quintana allowed the early home run to Gleyber Torres, The Mets came back, tied the game. Francisco Lindor gets hit by the pitch to drive the run in. And then later on in the game, it was Jeff McNeil against former friend Michael Tonkin as Aaron Boone made the call to the bullpen, got Luis Gil out of the game, put Tonkin in. And Tonkin's a guy who gives you that three-quarter delivery. And I turned to my buddy Matt Breen and I said, not a good matchup for the Yankees here. McNeil swinging the hot bat against Tonkin. And what does McNeil do? He hits the two-run home run, makes up for a bit of a base running blunder, which that was an interesting moment. I texted my boss Brendan, and when you're in the stadium and you watch that play unfold, Tyrone Taylor hits a ball 400 plus feet, and there's runners on first and second, and you don't get a run out of that. You're kind of thinking to yourself, okay, this is going to be one of those nights, right? Like this is not going to end well. The Mets did scratch across a run there, tied the game, as I mentioned. But Jeff McNeil more than makes up for it by hitting another home run, continues to swing the hot bat, finished the series going 4 for 8, 4 runs, homer, double. Jeff McNeil looks full back. He looks confident. He looks like the 2022 Jeff McNeil. He's not thinking at the plate. He's not arguing with the umpire anymore. He's in control when he's in the batter's box. So incredible to see that from Jeff McNeil. And of course, after the Marlins series recap, we told you that Jeff McNeil might be a guy who could have a big series here in the Bronx. And he did just that. So tip of the cap, Jeff McNeil staying hot. Look to see that continue against the Atlanta Braves. And then the Mets had 12 outs to navigate as Jose Quintana, who, by the way, pitched a whale of a ball game on Tuesday night, inducing ground balls, got a big ground ball double play from J.D. Davis. Really made J.D. Davis, the Yankee cleanup hitter on Tuesday night, look foolish in 3 plate appearances. We know the Mets were very careful with Aaron Judge, the way they pitched around him in game 1, not the same in game 2, but the way they pitched around him in game 1 successfully and navigated the Yankee lineup. And that was really between Aaron Boone and Carlos Mendoza. That was a chess match between a couple of guys who know each other well. And Vito and I, we hope to have Mendy on the show coming up this week. And I'm really curious to ask Mendy if it's more difficult playing that game of cat and mouse the way that he did with Aaron Boone, knowing the tendencies and what the other guy is thinking, and knowing that he knows your tendencies, because the Yankees pretty much made a line change, a good old-fashioned hockey line change, once Quintana was out of the game and Adam Ottavino came in the game, and then Daniel Nunez came in the game, and the Yankees went from seeing lefty to righty, and then you saw Austin Wells come off the bench to pinch hit for Carlos Narvaez, and you saw Ben Rice come in the game to pinch hit for I was about to say JD Martinez, JD Davis. And the way that, did Carlos Mendoza expect that to happen? Did he think that Aaron Boone was going to stick with the guys in his starting lineup? And just that general back and forth that managers often play when they go against each other. But two guys who, look, Mendy was in that Yankee dugout for a long, long time. He was Aaron Boone's left-hand man. So you know that there's some know-how and you have an inside edge and an inside track on what the other guy is thinking about. But all the moves that Carlos Mendoza having to piece together 12 outs, they all paid off. Adam Ottavino came in the game, allowed a run. The Mets got through that. Daniel Nunez comes in the game, gets in a jam, makes the error on by the way, a great play by Pete Alonso down at first base. Daniel can't squeeze the little underhand flip, no problem. Daniel navigates the inning. Phil Maton comes in the game. He gets through a scoreless eighth, and then it was Jake Diekman. And, what more can you say? You got to tip your cap. I'm going to do it right now. To Jake Diekman, who, as my mom would say, and she'll love this reference, who showed a pair of Batesian on him. Jake Diekman comes in 1, 2, 3, top of the Yankee lineup, and he gets through it. We all know the huge strikeout against Aaron Judge, getting Judge looking, a fastball in the inside corner, and then eventually getting Ben Rice to ground out to Jeff McNeil to end the ball game. Look, it's been a tough go for Jake Diekman of late, and we all know that. And some Mets fans were uncomfortable seeing Diekman come into that game. But for Jake Diekman to, not at Citi Field, but in hostile territory at Yankee Stadium, come in that game, having gone through all he's been through recently, and secure the final 3 outs of a game where, I don't know about you guys, but once Jose Quintana left that game, and he was at 94 pitches, and 14 of those pitches were pretty unintentional because Aaron Judge saw 14 pitches from Jose Quintana, none of which really had intent of being strikes. Once we saw that Jose Quintana was leaving that game, the question was, how is Carlos Mendoza, knowing that Edwin Diaz, who had thrown 30 pitches the night before, was unavailable, in the dugout, that unavailable, and Jose Butto was likely also and turned out unavailable, going to navigate and piece together the final 12 outs with the Mets trying to nurse a narrow lead. And once again, and it feels like this is constantly the case when you talk about Carlos Mendoza and the job that he's done as Mets manager, put on a masterclass. Mendy did an incredible job figuring out the buttons to push. And I know that he was asked after the game, why did you pitch to Aaron Judge in the ninth inning there? If you walk Aaron Judge, you're putting the winning run on base. You're facing Ben Rice. He's not nearly as intimidating or simply as good of a hitter as Aaron Judge is. And Mendy said, I don't know. And I love that. I loved hearing that from Carlos Mendoza because why would you? I mean, how can you feel confident no matter who you have out there pitching to a guy who's doing things that we truly have not seen done in this game since Barry Bonds, who, by the way, you want to feel old. Barry Bonds just turned 60 years old on Wednesday, which is, I mean, for my money, the greatest player I've ever seen play. But for Barry Bonds to turn 60, it's a little startling. But Aaron Judge is doing Barry Bonds type things. And we all know what Buck Showalter did once upon a time when he was manager of the Diamondbacks and Barry Bonds was slugging for the Giants. He walked him with the bases loaded, the ultimate sign of respect. So when Mendy said, I don't know why I pitched to him. We had the feel and we did it and it worked out. It's kind of baseball, right? You know, like in that instance, yeah, Jake Diekman has struggled a lot. Aaron Judge, if he weren't hurt for a little bit or struggled, had a bad April, I should say, would be on pace for another 60 home run season. What do you know? Jake Diekman freezes him looking. It's just kind of the way the game goes. But the Mets eke one out on Tuesday night. And so I have a bit of a confession to make about Tuesday night's game. I mentioned that I was there with my good buddy Matt Breen. We braved the traffic and the lines to get into Yankee Stadium. I mean, you know, Subway Series, it's always a good time. It's always a scene. But Matt Breen and I, we made a decision. And we had made this decision pretty early on in the game. And that was, if the Mets went into the bottom of the ninth inning with the lead intact, we were getting out of there. For two reasons. Number one, I told Breen I'd drive him home. We drove over to the Bronx from Citi Field. I told him I'd give him a ride home. For those who have been to Yankee Stadium and parked in the parking garages at Yankee Stadium, it can be challenging to get out of there, especially high volume game, Subway Series, you know the drill. So I told Matt, hey, I'm with you. Like, if we can get out of here before the rest of the swell of people leave, I'm down. And we did a calculation. And I hope you guys can respect this and hear it through. If the Mets are to take a lead to the bottom of the ninth inning in the Bronx and hang on to it, and we're not there to see it, we're still happy. Mets win, all that matters, right? End of the day, we want a W. And if the Mets were to, say, not hang on to that win, I could not think of a worse place to be than the stands of Yankee Stadium for that moment. So, final out of the top of the ninth was recorded, and we looked at each other, and we said, let's go. We rushed out of there, tried to get to the car, may have made a wrong turn on the way to the car. No big deal. Funnily enough, we were able to hear the roar of the crowd, and it was kind of our indication as to what was going on. I had the game on MLB TV, but it was a little bit delayed, of course. You being there, that's the most live element you could possibly have. And we heard the final out, and there was a massive roar from the crowd at Yankee Stadium. And this is a testament to the Mets fans. And I wasn't there on Wednesday night, only there Tuesday night, but it was loud to the point where we thought that Ben Rice had hit a walk-off home run. And then we realized no music had accompanied it. So we quickly realized that it was probably actually a positive Mets moment. And then moments later on the phone, we caught up. We saw the ground out to Jeff McNeil to end game one. But shout out to each and every Met fan that braved whatever conditions you dealt with, getting to the Bronx, being in the Bronx, getting out of the Bronx. It's not easy. That place was chock full of Mets fans, and Mets fans were loud. And I heard Evan Roberts talking about this on Rico Bronya on Wednesday morning. He was also at game two with Sean Marash and Tommy Lugauer. And they were talking, Evan was talking about the Mets fans and how loud and how much they showed up. And I've been to a few games at Yankee Stadium, Subway Series games, and I do not remember seeing that many boisterous, loud, fun Mets fans the way that I saw on Tuesday night. So it was a really special environment. It always is whenever these two teams get together, especially right now where both teams have playoff aspirations. This Subway Series felt a little bit different. I've said this in the past. You throw out the records when these two teams get together, but it's rare when both teams get together and they're both right there in the thick of a playoff race and the games mean a whole lot to both teams. And that was what we had with this series. I think the last time we really had that was maybe September of 2015 when the Yankees came to Citi Field and the Mets were on their way to clinching the NL East. And the Yankees, they wound up with the American Wild or an AL wild card spot. They wound up losing to the Astros that year in the AL wild card game, but they were also fighting for a playoff spot as well. And that was really the last time where both of these teams played each other. And it wasn't just about bragging rights necessarily, but it was about, hey, we need these games in the standings. And that was the case this week as well. So Tuesday goes to the Mets. And now you fast forward to Wednesday, where you wake up, you're feeling good as a Met fan. You say, hey, we've won the season series. At very worst, it's 3-4. You're kind of playing with house money tonight. Sure, you'd like to sweep it all, but hey, if we split this one, no big deal, right? Well, that wasn't the case because once again, Gleyber Torres starts the scoring with a home run, this time a leadoff homer, first batter of the game. And maybe you're a Met fan, you're feeling a bit dejected, but no problem. There was a moment in this game early on, the Mets down 1-0, where Jeff McNeil hit a high fastball against Garrett Cole. And off the bat, everyone thinks this ball is gone. Similar to his first at bat on Tuesday night, was not gone. Tuesday night's fly ball, not nearly as threatening as Wednesday night's fly ball, where Juan Soto, who, some knock him for his defense in right field, made a great play, robbed a home run, went up, and picked a ball out of the air that would have been gone. Robs Jeff of a homer. So, a little bit of a kick in the you-know-what. And then Tyrone Taylor steps up and sends a ball into orbit and ties the game. And once again, kind of makes Garrett Cole look human. The Mets really, really kind of kicked down the door early against Garrett Cole the last time they faced him at Citi Field. Mark Vientos, the 2 homers. Harrison Bader, a big home run. Both of those guys homering in the second inning together, separated by 1 batter. And the Mets once again did the same thing to Garrett Cole. Pete Alonso hits a massive 2-run home run, gives the Mets a lead. And then Francisco Lindor. Man, we love Francisco, baby. Francisco Lindor with not 1, but 2 home runs on Wednesday night. Another huge Subway Series night for Francisco Lindor, the only man who can say he's ever hit 3 homers in a game in the Subway Series. He clubs a pair of home runs. Really 2 backbreakers. I mean, the home run that made the game 5-2, yes, at the time it was not over. Alex Young, Danny Young had to come into situations. Adam Ottavino came into a situation to get out of a spot where Sean Manaea got himself in a little bit of trouble in the fifth inning. So, yeah, there were times where the game wasn't over and you were kind of sweating as a Met fan where the Yankees brought the tying run, the go-ahead run up to the plate. But then Francisco Lindor again comes up and just ends the ball game with his 3-run home run. What a huge night for Francisco Lindor, who, of course, everyone watched this game on ESPN on Wednesday night, and they showed the graphic. Francisco Lindor has been one of the most valuable players in the sport as far as wins above replacement goes. And it's on both sides of the ball, whether it's offense. Francisco could be on his way to another 30-30 season, would join rare company as shortstops with multiple 30-30 seasons. Defensively, the best shortstop defensively in the game. I mean, let's be honest. Francisco Lindor is the best shortstop in Major League Baseball right now. Whatever conversations were being had in April and May, forget it. Nonsense. He is, bar none, the best shortstop in Major League Baseball. Once again, he proves why. Mark Vientos, who hit 2 balls square on Tuesday night. And if you had asked me, hey, who's the guy who might homer on Wednesday? Perhaps you did ask me. Mark Vientos was swinging a real good bat. Even in Miami, you go back some of the at-bats he had down in Miami, just squaring balls up, hitting into a lot of bad batted ball luck. And on Wednesday night, he parks one into left field in not the bleachers. That's in right field at Yankee Stadium, but parks one in left field, hits a home run. His 3rd home run of the Subway Series, a massive, Mark Vientos is a kid who, Mark Showtime, right? They call him Swaggy V for a reason. And him having the success he had in the Subway Series with multiple extra base hits, 3 homers, the double he had on Tuesday night. He scorched one, probably his hardest hit ball of the night, right at Aaron Judge in center field. For Mark to put on the kind of show that he did under the brightest of lights, the Mets have themselves a keeper there at third base. So kudos to Mark Vientos, who just continues to get better. And on the defensive side of the ball, him making that pick at third base and turning that double play while Jose Iglesias is doing the interview with the ESPN booth, a thing of beauty. Of course, we always love to hear from Jose. Jose is electric on the mic, whether he's chatting or singing or talking to myself and Vito. But for Mark to get down, snag that ball, make a good, quick, clean throw to second, and puts Jose in a situation where he can make a clean turn and get that ball over to Pete Alonso at first base. Thing of beauty. So what a series for Mark Vientos, who just continues to excel at third base and just looks more and more comfortable each and every day down there at the hot corner. We all know how good of a bat Mark Vientos has. And from there, it was kind of a laugher. From there, you kind of untuck your shirt, enjoy, start sending those texts to the Yankees fans. Hey, it is what it is, right? We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. The truth is, these 2 games, when you look at what's coming this week, are probably the least important games the Mets are going to play. We know that city bragging rights were up for grabs, but you peek a look ahead, the Braves come to town, and they are within striking distance. So it's the 4-game set with Atlanta that we know is really what's important here. But of course, it's always a great time whenever we can beat the Yankees. And of course, doing so in the fashion the Mets did this week, where they put up double-digit runs on Wednesday, win a laugher, another laugher, after a victory that, hey, on Tuesday, it felt like, let's be honest, a lot of things went wrong for the Mets. They left the bases loaded multiple times. There were some base running blunders, and the Mets still eked out a victory. So, like I said, you get on the group chat, you send your friends a message. And speaking of group chats, before the series started, Luis Severino divulged to the media that he is in a group chat with some of his former Yankee friends. And Luis, who did not face the Yankees at all this year in any of the 4 games, told the media and all of us that he told the friends of his in that Yankee group chat that the Mets aren't afraid of the Yankees because they've, quote, only got two good hitters. And I wonder, was Luis lying about that? Was he wrong? Because it didn't feel like the Yankees have two good hitters. Kind of felt like they had, I don't know, one good hitter. You know, Aaron Judge didn't do much hitting in this series. The Mets were smart. Don't let it beat you. Juan Soto hit the whale out of a ball on Wednesday, 440 plus to center. Okay. Juan Soto is one of the best players in baseball, as is Aaron Judge. And of course, I say this all tongue in cheek. But the job the Mets pitching staff did with this Yankee lineup, and I get it, the Yankees are missing Giancarlo Stanton, and they're waiting Jason Dominguez to come back, waiting for Dominguez to come back. And the deadline's approaching, and the Yankees have a lot of pieces in the farm system, and rest assured, this Yankee lineup will not look the same in 10 days. Brian Cashman is a very shrewd general manager. Don't get it twisted. He's done a great job for many years. It is not easy to continuously win and make the playoffs like the Yankees have done. But maybe Luis Severino has kind of gassed the Yankees up a little bit. Who knows? But for all the Mets fans who were nervous about, oh, Sevy shouldn't have said that. Oh, we're nervous about, we don't want to see the Yankees have a little bulletin board material. Doesn't matter. You know why? Because we clean it right up. Sweep it right up. Out you go. Out you go. We'll see you guys in 2025. Maybe 2024. Hey, could be a Subway Series. You never know, right? Two teams with playoff aspirations, as we mentioned. So the Mets get the job done. They go into Yankee Stadium and win a couple of games where, yes, it was important for them to win both of those games. Of course, not the swings that are upcoming here with the Atlanta Braves coming into town this weekend, a critical 4-game series, Mets and Braves. If you guys have not already secured your tickets, please hop on Mets.com, call your rep, do what you got to do. This is what it is all about. I'm talking late July. We got pickleball paddle giveaway. We got fireworks. We got probably the greatest Mets promotion I've seen as a fan or an employee of the team. The Mercury Mets jersey honoring the genius of what happened 25 years ago, bringing it all back. And this jersey, and Vito and I, we talked about this with you guys. This is a quality jersey. This is not some cheap little piece of material. There is an undershirt. This is a true quality giveaway. And you never know what sort of surprises there might be in store when it comes to intergalactical, whatever it might be on Saturday. So that'll be a whole lot of fun. And of course, Sunday at the ballpark, you can't beat it. Bring the whole family out. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. These two teams, whenever they get together, we know the battles are always legendary. It goes back to the late 90s, and the Mets and Braves are about to write a whole new chapter of history between them. The Braves, as we discussed on the last episode, are dealing with some tough injuries right now. Chris Sale was supposed to start earlier in the week, was supposed to start on Wednesday. He's now been pushed back again to Thursday. We'll see what the case is with Chris Sale. But the Braves, of course, Spencer Strider went out early in the season. Max Fried not with the team right now. Ozzie Albies not with the team. Whit Merrifield, who the Braves just picked up, suffered an injury before he actually stepped into a real game for the Atlanta Braves. This is going to be a raging weekend at Citi Field. It really is. I am excited to be a part of it. I hope you guys are all excited to be a part of it. The Mets are in a prime position here. So let's face it. I mean, we know the math. The Mets can take over the first wild card spot with a good weekend against the Braves. And we know what happened a couple years ago, right? The Mets had a weird 5-game series with Atlanta. They won 4 of 5. DeGrom came back. Mets take a 7-game lead in the NL East, and you're thinking it's over. Of course, we know how things wound up. Having said that, the resiliency, the Mets go to Miami, and I know that a lot of you guys out there, and I understand, we're not feeling great after a 4-game split with the Marlins. And I wanted to bring this up, and I didn't. You talk to yourself here. I've been going for 30 minutes. I should probably wrap up here pretty soon. Uh, the Marlins had the Orioles coming to town right after the Mets left. And for all those who follow Major League Baseball as a whole closely, guess what? The Marlins have won the first 2 games of that series against the Orioles. So perhaps it's not a Met thing that they went down to Miami and split that series. We all know the Baltimore Orioles, who won 100-plus games last year and could win 100 games this year once again, are a damn good ball club. And the Miami Marlins have had no problem with the Orioles whatsoever. So when we look at results and what happened here, what happened there, we want to get mad, we want to get upset, we want to say, up. They lose 2 of the 4 games to a middling, not even middling team. Let's face it, the Marlins are, they're last place team in the National League East. The context there is important, that the Marlins can then welcome the Orioles to town, who are in first place in a highly contested division, and right off the bat win 2 games against them. It puts things into perspective. So the Mets out of the All-Star break, they split that 4-game series with the Marlins. They take 2 from the Yankees in the Bronx, and now it's on a 7-game homestand with the Braves in for 4 and the Minnesota Twins in for 3. The Mets are in the driver's seat right now as far as a playoff position goes. There is a very long way to go. We all know that. But right now, what more, and I say it again, could you ask for as a fan of the New York Mets? Not much. Thursday is going to be a fun night at Citi Field. We got Carson Benj, Mets first-round pick from Oklahoma State. Just signed his professional contract on Wednesday night. He'll be at Citi Field on Thursday. Hopefully going to have a chance to catch up with Carson, get to meet him, and we'll have a conversation with Carson that we'll bring to all you guys. Very excited for that. Like I mentioned before, hope to chat with Carlos Mendoza, talk about what he did during the All-Star break, the challenges of coming out of the All-Star break, right? You kind of disconnect from a 26-man roster. The Mets send Pete Alonso to Texas. Everyone else goes on their merry old way, enjoying, disconnecting, coming back. How does that all work? If you have the question, we'll have the answer with Mendy, so really excited for that. And a whole heck of a lot more. So we have some great content coming to you guys later this week, so definitely check that out. As I said earlier in the episode, follow me at JMB9191. Follow Vito at Vito F. Khaleesi. You could subscribe to the podcast wherever you might get your podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Google, I don't know, Yahoo. That's not a thing. You could, of course, catch us right here on the video platform if you're watching right here. I'm not wearing my glasses right now. I got a new pair of specs. And our guy, Ty, who is unfortunately leaving us pretty soon. Ty's a Vandy guy, so Ty's got great baseball ahead of him. Ty's got a great future ahead of him as well. He told me you can't wear them, but I just got these specs today. But you could see the reflection right in these glasses. So Ty was like, you can't wear those during the broadcast, John. So if you're not watching, you have no idea what I'm talking about. If you are, you just saw the reflection. So thank you, Ty, for making sure that I didn't look like a total fool more than I just usually do naturally. But thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We've got a whole lot more coming your way, as I mentioned. So make sure you meet us right here at the Apple. Once again, brooms out, baby. Give that Yankee fan in your life a big hug and then tell them it wasn't our World Series. We got a whole lot more, baby, coming our way. Let's go, Mets. We'll meet you at the Apple again soon. We'll talk to you later.